it'll let us know. And we are live right now. So what's up, you guys? Coach David here with Metro Jiu-Jitsu. Got a special guest here, Coach Mark Leszczynsky. Did I pronounce that right, Coach Mark?
Yes.
All right. All right. So we're going to tell us a little bit about yourself first off, Mark. Like who you are. I know who you are. You're obviously a staple. You're like the team father figure a little bit. But tell us
or the grandfather figure.
or the grandfather figure. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about who you are. What's your. I mean, you've got pretty extensive coaching background, so I'd like to dive into that. Do you have any coaching experience? What's that look like, and so on?
Started coaching my nephew in hockey at the age of 23, 24 years old. Waited for my son to get born, and when he was born in 1990 and 1994, I started head coaching. So I was assistant coaching my nephew's team along with my brother-in-law for 5 to 7 years there, I guess. And then once my son turned 4, I started coaching him in hockey, and I haven't stopped. When he went on to play high school, I went down and grabbed another group of kids that were 6, 7 years old, brought them all the way up, and I think I've done that now four times. From 5 to 6 all the way to what we would consider 15, 16 years old.
Why? What gravitated you to hockey though? Like over any sport like football or?
Do you really want to know why I picked hockey?
No, I asked because I had no interest.
I'm going to say it was the early 70s, and I hadn't watched a hockey game on TV ever. And I'm at my brother-in-law, Dave Burns' house, and we're watching a hockey game, and it was the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Detroit Red Wings. And I'm watching
in the 70s?
In the 70s, and I'm watching the game, and in front of the net, another guy cross-checks another player in the back and knocks him to the ice, and I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, he's going to get kicked out of the game for that and get fined and everything else. And the play continued on, and the next thing you know, the guy goes to get up and he gets cross-checked back down to the ice, and they turn around and they fight, and a fight breaks out, and then another fight breaks out, and I thought the whole game was going to end and it was going to be over, and the next thing I know, a guy goes 2 minutes to the box here and 2 minutes to the box there, and the game continues on. I thought, what kind of game is this?
So you're like, wait a second, we can fight mid game and keep
that pretty much was it is. I thought, wow, this is a game that I could get into. You mean I could fight my opponent and still play the game and not get any penalties? I signed up the next day. I started playing ever since.
Get out of here. Have the rules changed? Because I grew up, I will say that is only, I've kind of got a reputation of not, like I don't keep up with sports, right? It's a lot of time and energy. But we did watch. I mean, my brother and I were really into the late '90s Red Wings hockey, especially when they had that rivalry with the Avalanche. And so that was, like, dude. But he was like I wonder if it was just because he wanted to be like contrary, but he was a Patrick Waugh fan, dude. Like he liked Patrick Waugh, and I'm trying to remember Forsberg. There was a couple like heavy hitters on the Avalanche. Like he just loved the whole Avalanche team. And
so those were goalies. Patrick Waugh was a goalie. Forsberg was a power forward, very very good power forward. But getting back to your question about hockey, how has it changed since then? So when you had the original 6, it was of course a lot of it was policing for your favorite hockey player on the ice. So each team carried an enforcer, and rightfully so, times have changed. It's more about speed and skill. So it's a lot more fun game to watch, but it is nice to have that fight break out every once in a while on the rink and get the fans all riled up and everything. But it just, the game has advanced so much and the skill level has gotten so fast that you can't carry a couple extra bruisers on the team just for fighters anymore. You have to have 4 skilled lines. Mm-hmm. So that style of play has pretty much been put on the back burner.
Have you so when you first started coaching kids, what was your coaching style when you first? Because I would imagine you had children, and then you were coaching kids. So like, what type of coaching style did you have, and has it evolved? And then, how do you translate that? Because you obviously, Coach Mark coaches our kids program, coaches adult fundamentals here at Westland with us, and So has that changed at all, or how did it start?
It's actually changed drastically. When you start as a young coach, you think, you know it all. You're right away. I can be the best coach out there. I can implement things that other coaches have, and so when you're young, you think you're going to run them, you're going to drive them hard. Every practice is going to be really hard. You're just going to run the horses as hard as you can, and that's how you're going to win games. And unfortunately, you learn that just driving your team really hard and into the ground isn't going to work. You have to eventually start teaching.
Sure.
So I had to learn to start teaching versus telling. And once I made the transition from telling the kids what to do to teaching them what to do, I actually became a pretty successful hockey coach.
So for what that, I guess for someone outside looking in, what's the difference between teaching and telling?
Well, let me give you an example. I'm coaching a second-year Bantam team, and I had an assistant coach he was running a drill out of the corner, and I was down at the other end working on some cycling drills with the offense, and he had the defense and some of the other forwards at the other end, and I kept hearing out of my head, if you take another slap shot at my goalie's head, you're going to give me 10 push-ups or whatever. You're going to get in trouble for headhunting my goalie. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I hear it again, and I hear it again, and then I hear him yell, I told you to get the puck down and stop headhunting my goalie. Everybody keep their shots down. So at this time, I skated over to my assistant coach, and I asked him, I says, hey, let me ask you a question. I says, I hear you telling all the players to keep their shots down, but I said, at what point did you show them how to keep their shot down, how to follow through, how to point the stick, how to carry it over? And I mean, a very intelligent assistant coach looked me right in the eyes and go, Coach, you're right. I'm sorry. He goes, I've been yelling at the kids the whole time to keep their shots down. I did not explain to him one time. And he went over the corner. He apologized to the kids, showed them how to keep their shots down, and I never heard a dissent. So that's an example of telling versus teaching.
Yeah, well, that would be, I'm just thinking, that's pretty basic, right? Like you have to, and especially, how old are those kids?
So at Bantam AA, you're looking at to be 13 years old, going to be 14. They're that's older. What I mean. You're taking hard shots. The shots are coming in pretty hard at this time. They're probably coming in at 70, 80 miles an hour.
Nice. Yeah, see, so, when you're dealing with, that's a cool age group to work with. Yeah, once you get out of the hurdle of the way of that, like, preteen, teens, of like, once you get those kids who want to be there, they are, I think they're just so underrated in their grit and their heart, and even their hard skills, like their technical motor skill, because now they're starting to develop, right? And those develop before I had kids, before I started coaching kids. Those develop way sooner than I anticipated. I legit thought like, oh, kids under 9 can't do anything. Like they're just kind of useless until 9 years old. Before I had kids, dude,
they will sponge stuff up. Look at like Yaya, for example, or JD Hurst. That kid sponged Jiu-Jitsu up in 3 months. Yeah. And then other kids, it takes them a little bit while. Sure. And that's with any sport. You'll see that. I often explain that to parents. Parents will get their child into an activity, and who wants the activity? Are you just joining the activity for recreation? Then let's not expect a lot. But if the child is coming to you and they're saying, hey, I want to play baseball. I want to play baseball. And the child's always watching baseball and always looking at baseball on TV and always hitting the ball with the bat, playing catch and everything. Get your kid involved in baseball, because chances are that's what's motivating him and driving that sport. We get a lot of parents that get their kids involved in hockey, and we all want our kids to succeed in hockey and be one of the better players on the team. But it's going to be really hard for player A, who I've decided as a family to get him into hockey, to be as good as player B, who player B is, I'm out in the driveway taking shots on my own. I don't have a parent telling me to go out there and take shots. I don't have a parent telling me to go to a camp. This kid's trying to get on the ice every chance he gets. He's on the pond. He's at every open skate. You got to yell at him to come in for dinner.
How do you get so you're talking about self-starters, right? Kids that are self-starters. Is there a way to grow that or nurture that or help inspire that? Like is it just
You have to find out that child's desire, and you can't make it yours at any cost. What you can do is let them know early on that they're doing good. So if you want your child to be a golfer, then what would motivate them to be a better golfer is while they're golfing, you tell them they're doing a great job being a golfer. And wow, one day you could be a really good golfer. So then you're building the groundwork inside their mind like, hey, I'm a golfer. I could be a good golfer. So yeah, if you took some of those steps, and it's like anything else, we often like to do things we're good at.
Of course. Yeah.
So as long as you're encouraging your child that they're better, and hey, you're getting really good at this, chances are that they can go on into that sport and maybe like it and go on and be one of the better athletes in that sport. But if you're going to take a child and put him in a sport, like let's use hockey, for example, and after practice on the way home, if you're telling your son, you're not skating as fast as the other kids, you need to put out more, you need to do this better, that child might not be having as much fun on that sheet of ice as you think he is. And there again, how can he get better if he's not having as much fun or don't think he's as good as his parents think he is?
So you bring up a really important point, and were a Marine, yes?
Say again.
You were a Marine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, my father was a Marine as well, and in turn, he raised kids kind of like boot camp a little bit, and there, I think there's, I want to go on to say, I think there's value in structure. I think there's value in discipline. Both like mental discipline and physical discipline. I think there's value in those things, and when it comes to parenting. But that was all I knew. Like as a kid, and then it's not uncommon for us to get these parents. I have one right now, and they've got this like little tender 4, 5, or 6-year-old boy. I'm thinking of Landon as an example. Like he's really tender, super. He's just a kind, soft-hearted boy. It doesn't help that he's got 3 women in the house, right? But like he's just really tender. He's not like your kind of macho kid right now. And they're like, I want to toughen him up, And I'm like, what? You always have to set that expectation with the parents. Be like, all right, listen. I mean, the very nature, the fundamental nature of jiu-jitsu. I mean, even hockey, right? Hockey's physical. That is tough. We don't need to add any extra layers of toughness to that. In fact, to your point, like you've got to add, like it's got to be fun, and they need to have. That's why we get a lot of flack for like we inject a lot of things that teacher. If you talk to teachers and we're like, yeah, we have a reward system of leadership tickets, they're like, oh yeah, I get it. And then if you bring it up to jiu-jitsu guys, like it's a big dojo. I'm like, well, we just understand how to communicate with kids and like what adults are the same way.
What drives them?
Adults are the same way. You're telling me like you don't work for like if I incentivize you with a raise, you're not going to work.
That stripe means a lot to some people.
Belt promotions, financial promotions at work, like bro, it's just psychology. So adults are just really tall kids, and keeping that in mind of not like you mentioned that drill sergeant and how it's changed. Have you seen the kids change at all? And I mean, because you said what 35 years you've been coaching.
I've seen the kids change quite a bit, and it's just the way our society's changing.
I'm gonna steal this extra probiotic from you. Sorry about that. Unofficial sponsor is would you say this prebiotic?
Yeah.
What do you think of this, dude?
We're sponsoring. We're our non-monetary sponsor for today is Poppy, and I am drinking the strawberry lemon prebiotic soda.
It's not bad, dude. It's okay. It's better than
there again. I want to reiterate this is our non-monetary sponsor, Poppy. A shout out to Poppy.
All right, now that we got the awkward can pop out the way. Sorry, you were saying that we.
So kids today, due to kids that say I started coaching. Sometimes I get it mixed up what a millennial or what a Gen Z is or whatever, but I'm just going to say kids that kids from the early 90s and the 90s, they didn't have a phone that they could sit on all day long. They still had to get out on their bikes. They still had to entertain themselves.
Sure.
They still had to get out in the field, out in the woods and play. And when you do those types of things as a young child, you're hardening your skin, you're toughening yourself up.
Sure.
And I just feel that if you sit on a phone all day long, it can, it's the same person. It doesn't matter. You can end up becoming soft. And I think the kids today are a little bit soft, if you want to be honest, and it's because of this phone right here. Kids today sit down way too much. There's way too much screen time. There's not enough time for kids getting out and playing in the snow, sledding on the hill, getting out and getting bumps and cuts and getting that rough edge that nature and just outside gives you versus sitting inside on a couch sitting on the phone.
So there is do you think, I mean, because there's certainly the effect of screen time, specifically social media for kids, but even those younger than that is it's hard to dispute at this point. It's like I've read several books on as it pertains to preteens and teens about the depression levels, the anxiety, self-harm, even a lot of the crises. This is not the podcast I'm going to turn this into, but a lot of the crises that young high schoolers are facing, and then they become confused, angry adults. Is your constant? It's a constant game of comparison. Number one, with the social media, but with kids, have you noticed? Because I think I agree with everything you just said. Have you noticed any change in their attention span, or their listening ability, or their You mentioned from the 90s to the time. Have you noticed a change in any of that?
Yes, of course. Yeah, the kids today, they'll listen to you and they'll look you in your eyes for maybe 10 seconds tops, and they're already wandering off in their head on something else.
How long did it used to be? If you take the 90s,
you used to be able to communicate with a kid, and I would say probably at the 30-second mark, and then on ice, when you're talking to them, running drills, everything, you can get a good 10-minute attention span out of the kids back in the day. Today, kids get bored at the 5-minute mark. I would say it's half that. Kids are getting bored. This is too repetition, but there's too much satisfaction and gratification trying to be found right here, and it's not. This isn't gratifying at all.
It is instant gratification, and there's a lot of, even everything from if you ever watched old cartoons, if you look at the old cartoons, they are, even the scene cuts are quite a bit longer, versus now. Like if you watch, my son watches, he likes, Blippi a lot, and dude, those scene, or look at the Disney Channel, it's scene cutting seconds,
so rapid,
so
rapid.
If you were to show it from someone from the 60s, they would think they're on an acid trip.
Yes.
It's so rapid.
It's so rapid. And to hit on that point, I used to be, or am, a Marvels fan.
With the comics or the universe. That's my favorite movie.
See, so I am a big Marvels fan, and the last one that came out was about what had Dr. Time or whatever. The CGI in it was so rapid.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
Doctor Strange, yeah. I'm sorry.
Universe of Madness, yeah.
It was, the CGI was so rapid. I couldn't watch it. It was just too rapid. It was too, not that I couldn't watch it or focus on it. It was just too quick and too rapid of a pace on the movie for my mind to follow it. And I was like, I don't want to keep up with it.
Yeah. So that one is, in fact, it's funny you bring up that one, because that one, I just have a soft spot for Benedict Cumberbatch, the actor.
Yeah, I like him too.
And I was like, that's not bad, because he did Sherlock or whatever. I was like, it's okay. And my sisters are like, this is why we can't trust your opinion. But it was legitimately like it was like an acid trip, dude. I mean, it's like not that I would know from what I've heard. But it's like you're watching through a fast forwarded kaleidoscope, you know,
Yes,
and then
yes.
things that are just really strange, like what would appear like hallucinations, right? And
So, and what you're talking about is stuff that, I don't want to be that, what do they call a conspiracy theorist, but we really don't know what type of distortion that is doing to our mind. At that rapid pace of movement, we really don't know what we're seeing. You know, the old test back in the 50s when they were flashing, drink more pop, eat more popcorn. You know about that test that was done in the movie theaters. Every seventh frame, you couldn't see it. Sales and popcorn and pop went up in the movie theaters 20%.
so you're talking. So I know that was from a. I know it's from. I don't know how this audio is. I know how. I know what you're talking about only from Fight Club though. Subliminal messaging.
So if they were testing that back in the 20s and 30s, the subliminal messaging that's coming across today has got to be next level. And I often say this: how do they drive? How is there a driver? I don't want to get political, but I'm just going to use a driver.
Sure.
All of a sudden, Trump announces in 2016 he's going to announce he's running for president.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, there was this mass drive of everybody. Woof! All at once was on the Trump train.
You mean like the demand or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, people that didn't even know who he was all right. Trump's running for president. So where does that come from? What kind of messaging were we being fed the years before?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone's got an answer to that, but I do think. I guess I didn't realize because I intentionally I don't watch the news, dude. Like we were talking about my grandfather, who recently passed, and he would CNN would live on, and it would just always be on, and I would like. Man, you watch that much of anything. You consume that much of anything.
CNN teaches you what you're learning.
Yeah, and so, but anything, right? Like, let's say I exclusively watch Fox or CNN or Joe Rogan or
what's teaching you,
or the Tate brother, whoever. Like, you watch any of that exclusively, and that's a narrative, and I think there's just more and more gaining that perspective of that. But the screen time, to bring it back, kind of on point, the screen time with the kids. Where do you think they learn that though? You know what I mean? Like if they're in a house,
so it's a babysitter. It's parents being lazy. I mean, let's address the elephant in the room.
Sure.
It's tough being a parent. It's really hard being a parent because you have so many responsibilities that you have to take care of just keeping the house going, let alone teaching a child how to be a child.
It's so exhausting.
So if you can get a break for 10 minutes by putting a phone in their hands, then that break becomes 10, 20 minutes. Next thing you know, that break is a 9-hour break. And your child's never putting their phone down, not even when they go to bed.
Or they have a meltdown. So I was having a conversation with a school owner, Gary Shield in Texas, and he's run we bounce ideas with him about like, hey, what's working in your summer program, vice versa. He's been doing this for like 3 decades, right? Like same thing, 30, 40 years he's had, he's got his after school too. And he's like, Dave, and I asked him, I was just straight up, because our first year doing the summer program was 2020, right? Pretty big year, right? A lot of, you were mentioning all the hate we got, people trying to call the cops on us or whatever. No kids got, every kid lived, right? They all like,
we went right through COVID,
right,
didn't have a problem.
Right through it, dude. But it was the best year. So the point though was it was the best year it was the best run program we've had, like least hiccups. I'm hesitant to say best behaved kids, but like they were, and we didn't even have all the systems and everything we had in place of like, it wasn't the well-run machine it is now. Dude, now we're having to plan for contingencies I would have never considered. Like with with just the amount of coaches, the extra training that they go through. And I was like, well, maybe, I'd like to take ownership. I was like, maybe it's us. Maybe we just need to, improve our coach or whatever. Message Gary. He's like, no, Dave, it's nationwide. It's nationwide is what we're experiencing. The quality of kids' attention span and their behavior and
yes.
their ability. their ability to like listen, to just listen, and then you have such these outliers. Like we're talking, of course, there are the kids where like the parents are at home parenting, and they are they're very active, but then you've got some kid like you mentioned after that 10 or 20-second mark, they will just get bored, or they'll just start causing mayhem, and mayhem meaning like raising their voice, screaming, just drawing on walls. Picture
something so they can get their way.
Something, anything, dude. And it is I mean, it's bizarre, right? To the point to where now, like, we kind of go through a pretty strict vetting process, because I'm like, listen, let's just actually talk about what our program is going to look like and see if your kid will be a good fit, because I'd rather you go somewhere else now this year than I kick him out in 2 weeks. So, like, let's get in front of it.
It's very difficult when we have a class of 30 students and we have 7 to 8 coaches, and that's a pretty good
that's incredible. That's incredible
coach ratio, and that's pretty much standard. We're at Metro,
yeah.
So it's not fair to the other 29 students when you have that one student running around, and Coach Asley has to take her whole hour to spend time with one student.
Yeah.
And all those could have been taken care of with properly being raised at home.
And obviously, I think there is a large portion of that. A lot of times, like we talk to now, we have, with our application, it's like, what is your, literally on the application, what's your disciplinary policy at home? And they're like, what? Like, your kid doesn't get his way. Your kid lifts off, tells you, like, bro, if my kid says no to me or Amanda, like, they haven't done it recently. We'll say that, like it's, but then I can tell you minute 5 if a kid is used to saying no to adults.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, I can tell you minute 5, and
I've seen you address it. You address it pretty abruptly,
dude. Well, no, because it's so much deeper. It's so much more deep rooted than that. It's like, to me, it's as triggering, and I don't use that word lightly. I don't like it. But it's as triggering as seeing a man hit a woman. Bro, you are so messed up. Like to lay hands on a woman, that it's a much deeper issue. Like, there's a lot of things that went wrong along the way. Like, I'm getting involved. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting involved, and I'll even see it. And most of the parents appreciate it. I'm like, if I say, like, no, I'm like, well, excuse me, young man. I know I didn't just hear you tell an adult no. That would be crazy. Kids don't tell adults no. You didn't actually say that, did you? Because if you did, you need to apologize right now. Like, the whole 9, dude. What is other than screen time, what else do you think is the difference between the kids?
I don't know, but I did have something I wanted to say about what we were just talking about.
Sure.
When it comes to coaching kids in jiu-jitsu. In hockey, if a kid got out of line, older 14-year-old kid, you can't hit kids, of course, because of laws and everything. But you
could those pesky laws.
You had the trust of the parents, where I could go over to a kid and I could lean on him a little bit and say, put a little bit of, coach is, not your teacher at high school. I can touch you.
Yeah.
What I like about jiu-jitsu is, I'm going to use Joey Hurst, for example. Now, I have a student in our jiu-jitsu where I'm coaching his son, and I coach the father in hockey. And now his son is taking jiu-jitsu.
That's really cool. That's a really cool dynamic.
And one of the best parts about this particular relationship is, since I coached Joey in hockey and I had disciplined Joey a couple times in hockey, he can trust me to discipline his son on the mat. So if I want to grab up his 8-year-old kid and wrestle him on the mat in a disciplinary matter, Joey's going to say, thank you, coach, for teaching my son a lesson. That's what I like about jiu-jitsu, as if the parents would actually trust the coaches to not so much discipline their kid, but enough to where they can let them know, hey, I'll wrestle with you if you're not going to behave.
Yeah.
And we can get a hold of a lot of that problem.
There is I think that's a really cool dynamic. A couple things, Coach Mark. When you talk, just talk a little bit closer, because then we can get that deep baritone voice of yours. But like when I do like jiu-jitsu a lot, and I'm gonna give away some trade secrets here. What I like about them is because it's very, I don't even ask, like you're signing up, you know, you're trusting our coaches, everything, the whole building's under surveillance. You can see it come out. It's not like I'll go up and put my arm around a kid, literally put my arm around a kid. I always take a knee, get down to their level.
And you have to.
And you have to. Yeah, I don't talk. I literally don't talk
you
down.
have to get down at their level.
Yeah, I don't
get
talk
on one
down.
knee, whatever it takes.
And I'll talk. I'll literally talk. Just like these mics kind of magnify your voice. I'll be like, young man, I don't think. I mean, why is it that you're acting out like this? Where did you hear that, or where did you learn that? Right. And then they, you know, it's not just, you know, screaming at them, because kids, like anyone else, they'll get kind of tone deaf to that. You know, the parent going, but no. I mean, yeah, that's gonna have its effect, like, for a time, but then pretty much it just becomes white noise, and like, oh, mom's at it again, or dad's at it again, or whatever. But if you go to them and like you're, you know, now you're talking to them, and a lot of times, especially these little ones, 4, 5, 6, dude, I'll to your point, I'm not going to stop the class. I'll pick them up and carry like a bag of potatoes. Like, and you're going to be like, you're going to be with Coach David for, you know, for the class.
Personal for them.
No, it's not like, you know, because again, you're understanding. I think it requires a level of mentorship as well. I mean, very rarely, because our hands are tied to some degree, right? During jiu-jitsu, we've got your kids for an hour, maybe 2 for the day. You know, during the summer program, we've got your kids for 11 weeks out of the summer, all day. But like, I can't undo whatever parenting you did or 9 months, and it truly does take a village, because even the parents, right? If they, you know, depending on where's the kid go to school, what type of influences or messaging are they being exposed to at school? I don't know, good, bad, maybe a little bit of both, right? How about weekends? Like, where's the peer group or their circle at their friend's house? Who are the friends? You have to audit, like, all of these. It's not like exclusively all that, you know, the parents. It's exclusively the parents' fault, but they have the authority and the responsibility to, like, know who's in front of your kid, what are they saying, you know, all of it. So everywhere, the whole nine. I think that's an important distinction too, to bring that up. I wanted.
Hold on for one second. What you brought up was about how we have them for 1 hour.
An hour, yeah, a day, maybe 2 if they do double classes.
Let's go to the other sports, not jiu-jitsu, for a second.
Yeah.
So you get your kid involved. And we're going to use baseball, because I coached not only hockey, I coached hockey for 30-some years. I coached baseball for 12 years. I coached soccer for 1 year, and I coached football for 8 years. Let's use baseball, because this is a true story. I had a baseball team, and it was kid pitch, fast pitch, hardball. And it was a city league. And I had a mom who brought 2 sons onto the team, and I didn't get to pick the team. I had to take the kids that I get.
Sure.
I get them 1 hour a week, and then we play 1 game.
Oh, wow.
So we're 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the season, and I'm playing. Her sons were, you know, they're just learning baseball.
Sure.
I put them in right field, and the one I could maybe put a second base, maybe switch them out here and there. Could not put them at shortstop or pitching, because if they hit a line drive, you don't want a kid to get hurt. I understand this from coaching. I understand hardball. But maybe the mom is brand new to baseball. She's just getting her kids into it. She stops me after practice, angry. Why can't my kid ever play shortstop? Why can't my kid ever play pitcher? They're supposed to learn from you. And here's my answer to that when you get your kid into athletics. The kid that is playing shortstop or the kid that is pitching has an older brother or a dad or their mother getting out in the backyard with them and playing with them the night I don't have them for that 1 hour. When I informed this mother of this, she was a single mother, I says, how often do you get out in the yard and play catch with your kids? Oh, I don't. And I said, well, this young man over here named Josh Miller, who I have at shortstop, he's got 3 brothers. They play baseball every day in the backyard. Their dad is hitting the ball with them. They're going to the batting cages twice a week. I said, you're wanting your son to compete with that child there. She goes, I understand. She went out and bought a baseball glove, showed it to me the next practice.
Good for her.
She started catching with her kids in the backyard and taking her kids to the baseball, hitting. By the end of the year, I could put both her kids anywhere on the field except for shortstop.
That's funny.
They could hit the ball. By the time her kids, I didn't coach them after that in the following years.
Sure.
The one child made the high school baseball team and the other one made the high school football team because she realized she had to put in the time.
You have to be.
We only have those children for 1 hour. It's what they do at home. Yeah. It's the practice they put on home. And it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I can teach your child to move at jiu-jitsu for 1 hour. Yeah. And if he's not going at home, and you look at the siblings that we had, look at Reese, because he had a sibling to work on.
Reese is like, he's something special. You know, he is he's gonna be a big deal, dude. Like, and it comes so naturally to him.
Well, the whole family does jujitsu.
The whole family, but it comes so naturally to him as well. And he's like, he looks so unintimidating. You know, he looks like just like, you know, I'm just Reese, right?
I
and
love Reese.
He's
awesome.
And then you get put up against him, and you get ragdolled, man. But yeah, and that's, you know, I think.
And Olivia coaches him, like at home. This is how you do it. So that's where it comes from. It's the amount of work being put in at home.
Investment, yeah, the investment. So it's very much, you know, you mentioned parenting. It's like there is nothing that I've done that's as difficult as parenting. Because every decision you make, everything you do, you're trying to forecast out like 20, 30 years. How is this, especially you get like, you know, everyone's mad at their parents now. Like, oh, my parents did me dirty because of that. You know this. Your parents did the best they could, dude. Like, yes. Your parents did the absolute best we could. Far majority. Yeah, there are some terrible parents out there, right? The far minority. You know, from what we see, your parents are doing the best they could. Are they going to make mistakes? Yep, you betcha, right? They're human. They're doing the best they can, and it's the consistency of it and the monotony of it, of day in and day out. Like I must repeat. Like I from someone who hates repeating themselves. When I first had Scarlett, I'm like, I'm just gonna record my voice and just play it on loop, like, because it's the same command over and over. And it's like you kind of like, thoughts go through your head like, is my daughter brain damaged? Like she's not listening to me. You know, she's like, I've told her 400 times the same thing. And it's that it takes the time to it. And I think part of it is our job as coaches too, is to, exactly as you did, coach the parent. You know, and if they're like, oh, it's your job, and I, you know, I'm a paying customer. Yep, yes, ma'am, you are, absolutely. And you know, you're gonna get out what you put in. And maybe that was the first time the mother had, clearly must have been, because you're like, how often?
Yeah, she thought I'd get my child involved in baseball, and the coaches are going to teach my child to become a baseball player, and he's going to go on and become a good baseball player. At City Rec Ball, I only had him for an hour.
Sure.
And you can't I had 12 kids I had to do for that hour. Mm-hmm. But when she realized that, that's when it really took off for her. Just to let you know, I've made a breakthrough with Scarlett. And yeah, I call her Fox. Yeah, I call her by her last name.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I go, come on, Fox, let's go. And when I do, she puts that little extra step in. She likes being called Fox, just to let you know.
So she, you know, it's funny. I've tried a few nicknames with her. So you notice her name is spelled Lette, and I had it spelled weird. It's
Scarlett.
Yeah, well, it's Scarlett, but I would make fun of parents who spelled their kid's name like that. But the plan. I'm like, why can't you just spell it like normal spelling? Why you gotta be special? But the plan was to have it nicknamed. This is why, like, for the record, you don't get to choose your nickname. Like you can't choose your own nickname. You can't really choose your kid's nickname. It just kind of happens, right? I had this buddy in high school named Tubbs. Swear, like it was just his name was Tubbs, and I think we're friends on Facebook. If you're watching this, Tubbs, shout out to you. But like you don't get to choose it, but I thought you could. So I was like, we're gonna call her Letty. It's a cool nickname. We'll call her Letty because and it just never stuck. So I would, to your point though, I would tell her there was a time when I would come down hard on Scarlett. Same thing, she'd mouth off to me, or I was like, "Excuse me, young lady," and it was like that real. So like the words "young lady," were like traumatizing to her, and so now when I'm like, "Young lady, you look amazing." Dad, don't call me young lady. Yeah, because she like to her, it's like I'm in trouble.
That's how that filter opened up.
But she goes to Fox.
Call her Fox one time at home. See what happens. Just test it out.
I'll have to see what happens. Come on, Fox. Yeah. The problem is she's not keeping that name.
No, I tried it with Landon. He's just really shy, so I just call him Lando. And
Lando. If you call him Lando, yeah, that's what my dad calls him.
I call him Lando, and I think he likes me because of that.
So those are really good. I think my kids are like textbook example of. Right now I keep them in jiu-jitsu because I know that the activity itself is difficult. I don't coach jiu-jitsu.
I've never seen you coach your kids.
With them at all.
I've never, in 5 years, 4.5 years, I've never seen you coach your kids.
We will do at home when we're at home, right? Because I don't want them to. Let me rephrase this. So they just started coming to the Westland on Wednesdays. So like I'm the only coach here. I'm the head coach here on Wednesdays. So of course I coach them there. But we do Pokemon battles at home. And it's just roughhousing, right? You're just roughhousing. And I literally pull out like the theme music of the Pokemon battle. But we're getting, a lot of times I'll be in like a bear crawl stance and they'll hop on my back and get their hooks in their seatbelt. And so I'm like trying to shake them off, right? And then, so they're getting that
muscle memory.
They're getting that muscle memory. They're getting like a light round in, but we're just horse playing, right? And so those are things that, and we have all the curriculum for the parents to watch on the Spark app. They can see it. But like, it doesn't have to be like, all right, son, we're gonna do 20 minutes of jiu-jitsu, man. It's just horse,
just roughhousing.
Just roughhousing. That's
all. Is Jay jumping in?
Jay does, yeah. Jay's got a huge FOMO, man. Like he will.
He's gonna be the one coming off the top of the couch on you.
He is a banshee. Like so to the point, right? We talk about screen times, and I'm not. So if you see my kids with tablets, like you will see them with tablets, like I promise you. So I'm not like a purist of like, oh well, we don't have any screens. Was such a naive statement, right? Like
you have to be with the times of the day. I mean,
there was a time when I like, again, before kids, I was like, oh well, they're gonna have, dude. I don't want them to be completely tech illiterate either. Like like you're, sorry, y'all 50-year-olds asking me how to like use Google Maps. That's a different problem. That's a problem in the other direction. You know what I mean? You should know how to use kind of a smartphone, but they temper it, right? Like they have chores that they're supposed to do as exercises daily. We limit we absolutely control what they watch, like with certainty. Like that there is no such thing as I'm in my room with the door closed. There's no.
So you don't let them watch Disney.
I will let them watch Disney. I'll let them watch Disney that I watch, right? Like so there's there are some Disney shows that go. Their values are directly against what we stand for.
You do not have Hulu in your house, I take it.
So we have Hulu as well, but they don't have access to it, right? So like they have access to, like I said, Landon watches Blippi. They do what's another? They love Moana, but even Moana, like
have you noticed the Hulu commercials?
No.
So now that I've clued you in, you just have to watch the Hulu commercials on your own. Just watch them, and it's not the podcast for it.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll check out Hulu commercials. But even that, like there we talk about. I want to pull out the messaging. What was the message of Moana, right? Was it? I mean, it's a cool story, but she kind of directly disobeyed her father.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so like we're pointing out like that. Oh, it's a cool story, but best believe if you did, like if you like it,
And
like
those are the messages that I was talking about. Those are the messages I'm talking about. What kind of messages are we getting off of TV that we don't know we're getting?
What's so I want to talk a little bit about how you got into jiu-jitsu. You talked a lot about sports and coaching, and I think that's really cool, super helpful. But how did you segue from hockey? Because you still play hockey, right? You still play.
I still play hockey. I try to play twice, sometimes 3 times a week.
How'd you get into jiu-jitsu?
So being a Marine, getting older, at home, I like to watch podcasts myself, and Jocko is one of the podcasts I like to watch. I like Jocko. I like Sean Ryan. I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan. Probably his old stuff, his newer stuff. I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan. I do watch some of his stuff depending on who he has on. But I was watching a Jocko podcast, and at that time, everybody was being introduced to who David Goggins was and just getting after it, and I realized as a Marine, I wasn't getting after it. And one of the things the Jocko podcast was why Jiu-Jitsu. And I watched the whole podcast, and this was at 2:00 in the afternoon. And he said,
"Does Goggins do jiu-jitsu?"
I don't think Goggins does jiu-jitsu, but it's just it was about getting after it. Sure. And then I was watching the Jocko podcast, and he says one of the main thing, if you're in the military, if you're not doing jiu-jitsu, you're really not helping yourself out. So
if you're active duty,
I agreed with it. So what had happened was in 1984, while in the Marine Corps, we had to go to Onslow Beach, and we were out there with it was called Marine Force Recon at the time, and they had some Krav Maga guys show up and some Jiu-Jitsu guys show up. This was in the 80s.
Do you know who they were?
So it was Helio and the two kids. I didn't know this at the time. Let me try and explain the whole story to you.
Okay. All right.
So I didn't know, and he had the two kids with him was Horian and Henzo, and their kids. And one of the guys in my unit, back then you had what was called Tough Man contests, and he had won the Tough Man contest on Camp Lejeune Marine Corps base. So now picture this. Here's this Marine, his name's Osvaldo Laboy, tough guy, Puerto Rican tough guy from New York, from the Bronx, who won. He's also a Golden Gloves boxer. He won the Tough Man contest on Camp Lejeune. So during this demonstration, we do the Krav Maga first, and then the Jiu-Jitsu guys came in second. And everybody was we were all voting Krav Maga. All of us, we were like, yeah, this is what we want to introduce.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, Horian goes, "Who's the tough guy?" And our CO goes, "Osvaldo." And the boy was like, "All right, here I am, sir. Big Marine, tough guy."
How old is Horian?
15? Or no, Horian might have been 18, 19.
Okay,
but Henzo was like 15, 16.
He's a youth, right? So
yeah,
he's not like
they're kids.
I see. Okay. Still
kids.
Still a kid.
Yes. So this is the whole point of it. Here's this man, Marine, tough guy, coming out, and this is in the 80s. Nobody knew about it. At this time, the only thing Gracie had was in the back belt of Black Belt magazine. They had the Gracie Challenge, $100,000 fight to the death. Did you ever hear of that?
$100,000.
Yeah, it was a $100,000 fight to the death, and it was a small little ad in the Black Belt.
To the death?
Yeah, in Black Belt magazine. They were trying to prove that their sport was more superior than any other. They weren't going to kill you, but they could prove that they could kill you with rear naked choke or whatever. Yeah, do your research. It was in the back of Black Belt magazine. So nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was. We didn't have a clue. It's 83, 84-ish. And so Osvaldo sits out there and he goes, "Can I do anything I want?" And Horian says, "Anything you want. Anything you want. This is my brother. He's 17 years old. All you had to do is beat him up." And I don't know, Henzo got up there, did something like this, and he snatched Osvaldo by the legs and had him down in the sand on the beach and was on top of him, and there wasn't nothing. And he was fake, fake. I could do this.
Sure.
I could do this. And we were all like, wow, that's pretty interesting. So we trained it for the whole rest of the day. Years go by. We adopted Krav Maga. We did not adopt in the Marine Corps. We adopted Krav Maga. We did not adopt Jiu-Jitsu.
They have Jiu-Jitsu now.
And yeah, it's part of the curriculum now. So 1994 comes along, and I'm watching TV, and it says UFC 1 full fighting, and I'm like, that's why I got into hockey.
Sure.
Fighting, I like fighting. I'm interested. I like watching people. No holds barred, no rules, no time limit. And I'm like, this is very interesting. I'm going to watch this. So I researched it, and I saw the name Gracie. And when I saw that name, I said, that was that family that came when I was in the Marine Corps, and the little kid beat up that one guy. I said, I remember that.
Yeah.
So that made me more interested in watching the first UFC.
Sure.
And I threw a party. I went to Aaron's TV rental. Remember Aaron's TV rental or Aaron's rental?
Metro used to be in Aaron's.
What? Oh, did it?
Yeah.
So I actually went to Aaron's TV rental, rented a large screen TV, threw a party at my house for the very first UFC ever, and was telling everybody that this little guy was going to win it. And I knew it without even watching it. And, that very first one, a lot of things happened, man. That one guy, that Jardar Barreau, or whatever his name, he kicked that one guy's teeth right out of the guy's teeth landed up in their laps at the announcers. It was a violent sport. Well, Hoist Gracie ends up winning that one. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this. So I check into a seminar, and right after this, the next one he fights Dan Severance, and Dan Severance gives him a black eye. And I went to that very next seminar in Cleveland where Hoist Gracie had the black eye from Dan Severance.
No way.
So I went to that seminar, and guess who I meet at that seminar? Dave Gomez.
Really?
Yeah.
Professor
From
Gomez.
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu over on Dick's.
Yeah, I think he moved now. So Professor Gomez is, I think, in Maryland.
So I have pictures of Dave Gomez back in his 20s and 30s at these Gracie seminars where we had went to 4 of them together.
Yeah. Well, he is a Hoist Gracie black belt. Yeah.
He probably doesn't even remember me. So then Dave Gomez got in with one of the Michigan University wrestlers out at the University of Michigan Ann Arbor. And for one Thursday a month, we could go out there and train. This is 1995, 96. So I'm training. I'm going to Gracie seminars, learning what I can there, buying all their DVDs
How old are
or
you?
VHS.
30?
So I'm 30-ish, 32-ish, 33-ish.
Sure.
And I bought their VHS Gracie Basics 1 and 2, and going out there, and I end up getting put in a twister out there, and a guy tweaked my back really good. He was a judo black belt, and it was his first day, and he was not a very good training partner for a first-year jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Sure. Dude, judo is, I'm still not young enough for judo, dude. Judo will body you, man.
Yeah, so
just getting thrown repeatedly.
He threw me, hooked my leg, wrapped you know what the twister is, and then he totally wrung my body out like a wash rag, and it hurt my back really bad. I never went back.
Sure.
And I always had the love for grappling and jiu-jitsu, though. I wrestled in high school for a couple of years in high school. Good note on that. My high school team actually paid for me and another classmate named Lowell Evans to fly to Iowa State, and we got to go to Iowa State wrestling camp. Division I wrestling camp when I was in high school.
That would be sick. Like I would love to. I'd love to be in the room with like. In fact, if everyone's watching this and they have an end to like, to just go to like a U of M wrestling practice, yeah, I think they still have.
You can do that.
Can you get me in?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can talk to some people and get you out there.
You gotta get me in, dude. Like there, that would be, I'm sure, a humbling experience. But they just the grit on wrestlers. Dude.
Let me not leave my fans hanging here.
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
So 1994, 1995-ish, I ended up having to stop doing jiu-jitsu. But at this time, nobody's doing it. A purple belt was considered a unicorn.
Sure.
Watching the Jocko podcast, you have to get back into it. So I called another school in the downriver area, and I went over there and met with the owner of the gym, and he looked at me and he told me, like I said, it's the first time I've ever experienced what I would consider, what did I call it?
Age discrimination.
Age discrimination. He looks at me and he says, I'm sorry, I can't accept you in my gym. You're too old. You're a liability. Mm. And I was like, wow, I've never.
How old are you?
I'm 62 right now, going to be 63. So
you're 58.
It was 58. I would just turn 59, actually. So at the time, yeah, 58, 59, I can't remember. And that's what he told me. He says, I was going to be a liability to his gym. So this person that he told that to has competed now at Master Worlds.
Sure, yeah.
Got my blue belt fairly quick, not as fast as a lot of people do, but and I am not allowing you guys to promote me. I don't show up to promotions, so.
I think that's I brag on you a lot because we have a lot of people. They're like, they're watching this, and they think, because we do a lot with kids, right? Like there's JD, by the way, on TV.
It's JD.
We do a lot with kids, and they're like, oh, well, I need to get into it young, or I need to. The average dude signing up now is like 30. They're like my age.
30.
I'd say 30. Maybe early, maybe mid, maybe late, but like it's 30. Because they've got. I would say it's either 30 or 20, because the 20 they've got no responsibility, right? Like the mid 20s, late 20s, like they're like just start a family, maybe just get married, whatever. But the 30-year-olds, they see the benefit of it, and they're like, they got the expendable income for it. They're able to craft their own schedule. They've got that down, and I think I was talking shop with David Duncan, and I'm like, dude, there's this another dude. I believe there's just a biological itch, anatomical itch to just grappling and the physical touch,
it's
right?
Primal.
Not in a weird way, right? Just the physical touch of like with other men and grappling, and you said it's primal. Like there's something there that it's deep rooted, and we may not even know. We may not even know like just how much of a need it is there. But to your point, like we don't body people first day, first week, first month, first quarter. We get a lot of flack from we tell people, we're like, hey, if you don't want to do matches, when you first get started, you don't have to. We recommend it. You're not getting promoted, right? Till you can competently do matches and do some skills in them. But I mean, we have a lot of women come in, maybe assault victims, maybe not. A lot of men, they got whatever, like they can't afford to get injured. Their body works with it, so like that's pretty standard as well. But that's very it's very primal, and it scratches a deep itch with that. You've also, last topic I have here is you've had quite a bit of a health journey from when you started too. Like that was
one of the, like I would say the when I started watching Jocko and getting after it, I was taking a look in the mirror. I think I presently said it I think I weigh 196 right now. Mm. But that day that I walked in and Mo signed me, I weighed 240.
Wow.
Yeah, I weighed 238, but yeah, I weighed 240. And I was taking a look in the mirror, and I was noticing how just puffy my face was. Mm. And I immediately blamed it on sugar, so I cut sugar out. And Yeah, once I cut sugar out, my health really came online.
Smart choice.
All my joint pain went away.
Do you still have it cut? You still cut it out?
Yeah, my sugar intake. I mean, isn't zero like it used to. But like I probably haven't had anything with sugar in it in the last 2 weeks since Christmas time, New Year's. But over Christmas, I had chocolates and some cakes and ice cream and stuff. But I'll go for 3 months at a time with making sure I don't have anything sugar. I try to not eat anything out of a box or out of a package.
You know, like people want to overcomplicate the nutrition aspect. Like you could put any two items on the table, and you're gonna know which one's healthier, right? Like I put Doritos or I put bananas, no question, right? I put a salad or I put a burrito. You're gonna know. Put a burger or I put a stuffed peppers, right? You're gonna these things, right?
Probably the most simplest diet somebody could do if they wanted to just start right now. Mm-hmm. Don't eat anything out of a bag or a box.
Super simple. Yeah, honestly, because that's not far off from like when my boy Craig Funk wrote us. It's called his War Plan diet. He's got a list of calls them superfoods, but he's like, dude, it's micronutrients is all it is, and it's you're getting a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits. He's like, you can eat as much as you want. He's like, you eat these things, there's no limit to it.
I do eat a lot of steak. I probably eat steak 4 nights out of the week.
Yeah, I mean a lot of protein. But that's just Anthony Sam's on here mentioning the dyes too. That is I saw the best Aldi's ad. Like so Aldi's is if those don't know, they've been like not organic, but they've been like dye and processed. Like they kind of made a point to cut that out a while back. And with the new FDA or whatever it is, FDA changed. They cut out Red 3.
Yes.
Why they did?
John F. Kennedy Jr. is going to get a case. He's going to jump on that.
He's the man, dude. Yeah, like I didn't know who he was, and seeing have you ever seen the comparisons of like current health department? It's just this like it's this cave troll. I know.
You don't know what's about to hit them. No, and that's serious. And I love that guy.
It was like one of these companies, and it showed a bowl of Fruit Loops, right? One of these companies hasn't had artificial dyes in them since 2015, and we didn't even have to be told to. Like I was like, that is genius, It's like because and you're giving them 3 years, so they can continue to poison your food for 3 years, and it's fine. Like that is, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. So dyes and sugars and
dyes are like even the dyes are in Propel.
You would if you just look at the ingredients. Take the time to look at the ingredients and see what's right. Anything that if you like these have organic. Oh, sorry, you got 3 grams of sugar in this one. Sorry, Mark. Organic cane sugar, right? Apple juice, apple cider vinegar. Right, lemon juice. That's it. No weird or anything.
But then, the sugars came from apple juice, which is a different sugar.
Sure.
I don't have my glasses on. I'm sure it's not high fructose.
No, it's not fructose. It is. There is cane sugar in there though. So, but it's cane sugar. So it's totally different. High fructose corn syrup is. It
mimics. It's the molecular structure that mimics sugar, and it fools the brain, and it does all kinds of stuff.
Talk about inflammation and I'm 35, man. I started feeling when I was 29. To your point, sugars. I'd say like if I have a lot of complex carbs, like a boatload of bread or something, maybe a little bit, but then also any alcohol consumption, like more. Yeah,
drink any alcohol.
Yeah, well, you're a wise man because like even just that, right? Like it's not again. Over holidays, it's not hard. Everyone's you want a glass of wine, yeah, I'll take a glass of wine. And do you wake up? And we're not even talking about excessive amounts. We're talking like a drink or two. Do my knees and my ankle like this was like why it's stupid, right? Or you go hard on some ice cream. You get McFlurry. I love McFlurries, dude.
I love ice cream.
I love ice cream. I love ice cream. It's not hard to do though, right? Like it's not hard to. And so now it becomes a game of. Dude, it's not worth the recovery. For me, it's not worth the recovery. A lot of times, like, man, I'm straight. You know, I'll get upset. We'll go on date night. I'll get like a spinach salmon salad. She's like, why is it? I'm like, nah, I got zombie jiu-jitsu in the morning, you know. So that's I think it's a testament. And jiu-jitsu, knowing that you're always training something, it definitely impacts your decision making. If you don't have anything to do but just watch TV, then who cares?
It gives me something to look forward to. I often get a question, well, what motivates you to keep going?
That's a good question.
And it's at 60, 2 years old. I have to pick myself up by the collar. Now, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink any caffeine drinks. I don't drink any energy drinks at all. And I often talk this with my wife. I'll say, it seems like these 30 and 40-year-olds are running off of energy drinks. It seems like they're drinking 2 to 3 Monsters a day. And I says, at my age, I'm not running off of an energy drink. I literally have to pick myself up and say, hey, let's go.
You're calling me out here, Mark. I used to kill 3 Celsius a day plus coffee.
So what actually motivates me to get up and go to jiu-jitsu is 2 hours or an hour before I'm preparing to go to jiu-jitsu, I will pull up a YouTube video of a move that I like or I want to work on. And that gets my mindset like, okay, good. I want to go to class and I want to try and work on this move. So that's what kind of motivates me to keep going. Otherwise, there's times where, I get that same way. I'm a blue belt. I'm 60 years old. Why should I even try to go any further? What's the use in it? But, there's a lot of use in it. I need to keep going. I need to keep moving, and I need to keep training.
You want to train with intention too. So you're showing up, and I talk about that all the time. Like training with intention. It can really change the entire, rather than just showing up, going through the motions. You'll get way more, especially for those guys who can only train a couple days a week. You get way more bang for your buck, if you will, for your time investment.
I set the 400 classes in a year goal. And when I set that 400 classes in a year goal, that was, of course, to try and do my best at Master Worlds come 2025. Mm-hmm. And what I like about that, and I like about my family at Metro, is a lot of people have gotten behind me with that. The zombie guys, they're with me to help me. And I'm noticing Colin, Greg, some of the higher belts, they're there for me. I mean, I go over to Colin, I say, Colin, let's roll. Yeah, let's do this. I go over to Greg. Greg, what am I doing wrong here? And Greg's the first one. Hey, this is what you need to work on. This is how we need to address this. This is what you're doing wrong. So, I got a lot of help to help me get to that 2025 goal of trying to get a gold at Master Worlds. And I couldn't ask for any better family than my Metro family right now as far as getting there.
Well, you're, like I said, you're like the team. You're like the team,
Grandpa.
The great team grandpa, because you're always, like there. First when anyone's on, make them feel welcome, show them, the first, if you see someone struggling with it. So it goes both ways, you're both feeding and being fed, so to speak. So, well, I appreciate you having you on, Coach Mark. It's always good talking to you. You have a lot of life experience, but also, coaching and athletic experience as well. And so that's, that gives really good perspective, which is always a good thing, to gain that perspective. So, guys, you got something to add?
I just wanted to give a plug out if anybody needs. A lot of people at Metro don't know that I teach firearms.
Oh, firearms.
That I'm a firearms instructor. I don't put it on my social media because how social media can be about firearms.
Sure. Well, what do you mean? Like they don't like fire? They don't like guns?
Yeah, well, Facebook doesn't.
That's the wrong podcast if they don't like violence. I don't know.
Right. So I just want to let the people know that attend Metro Jiu-Jitsu, that if you ever want to go to the range, I have really good prices at Range USA. I can definitely get you on the range a lot cheaper than you can. And if you want to get qualified and have your CPL, I can get you your CPL license.
Do you carry, Mark?
I have a couple everyday carries. I carry a 9.
Great. You just got us flagged. Appreciate that.
I know. We just got us flagged.
I think it was actually on me. So yeah.
Of course, Mo's got Mo. You have to carry your everyday carries, but Jiu-Jitsu's only going to get you so far.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, you get multiple attackers. Pulling guard isn't going to work.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. So as always, appreciate your time. And guys, if wherever you're watching this, just help us out with the like, subscribe button. comments, whatever. And of course, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. I mean, at this point, you know, if you don't know, then I'm not even sure how you found the podcast. So, all right, guys, Southgate and Westland, we'll see you guys soon. As always, we'll see you on the mats.